and welcome to the Flourishing Center Podcast. I'm Emilia Zhivatovskaya, your host and founder of the Flourishing Center. We are training the change agents of the world and equipping them with research-based tools for healthy, happy, and successful living, and we're so grateful that you're here. Each episode features 3 sections. First is the Science Says section, where we summarize a recent research study and show you how to put the science into action. Next, we give you a research-based life hack with simple strategies for incorporating positive psychology into your life for greater well-being. And then our Practitioner Corner is where we interview someone who's out there living, breathing, and spreading positive psychology in their own unique way. Learn about how they're growing their personal and professional work and get inspired with strategies for how you might use positive psychology in your own life. Thanks for listening, and let's dive in. Hello, everyone. Today's podcast is going to be covering financial well-being and positive psychology. As you know, in our podcast, we invite you to write into us and tell us what type of topics do you want to learn more about in positive psychology? What areas of your life do you want a life hack? And Lisa from Edmonton, Alberta, wrote into us and asked us about financial well-being and asked questions like, what is the relationship between well-being and financial well-being? She also asked, how can positive psychology help people achieve their financial goals? And how can we, as positive psychology practitioners, teach other people about the positive role of money and financial well-being? We'll be covering Lisa's questions in our Science Says and our Life Hack. And then for our Positive Psychology Practitioner Corner, I cannot wait to introduce you to Carin Rockind. She has launched something called the Women's Global Happiness Day, something that's happening in 15 countries and on 6 continents around the world. And I can't wait to introduce you to this incredibly inspiring woman for you to learn about her story and the impact she's making on the world. Let's get started. As you know, our Science Says sections typically highlight research that's come out in the past 3 months. But in order to answer Lisa's question, we are taking you back to an article that was published in 2010 titled, High Income Improves Evaluation of Life but Not Emotional Well-Being, published by the economists Daniel Kahneman and Angus Deaton in the Proceedings of the National Academy of Sciences of the United States of America. The researchers highlight that in order to answer this question of what is the relationship between what we would call subjective well-being and financial well-being, it's important to actually describe subjective well-being. The authors highlight that there's 2 different ways that we can look at a person's well-being. One is their life evaluation, and the other one is their emotional well-being. Their life evaluation refers to the thoughts that they have about their life when they think about it. We can talk about this as things like how satisfied are they with their life? How happy are they? How much at peace are they with their life? Emotional well-being refers to the emotional quality of their everyday experiences. How frequently are they experiencing things like joy and stress and sadness, anger and affection? These are the things that can make a person's life feel pleasant or unpleasant. In order to understand these 2 separate types of happiness and well-being, they looked at an analysis from the Gallup Healthy Ways Wellbeing Index, something that surveys 1,000 U.S. residents conducted by the Gallup organization and yielded over 450,000 responses. And what they found was that while emotional well-being, which they measured with questions about emotional experiences that people had from the day before, as well as their life satisfaction or their valuation, can actually impact the correlation of financial well-being differently. They found that income and education were very closely related to a person's life evaluation. However, health, caregiving, loneliness, and smoking were stronger predictors of daily emotions. They plotted the average income with life evaluations, and they found that there was a steady rise. So as income rose, so did people's evaluations of their life. However, when it came to emotional well-being, they found that this also rose in the same fashion. However, after $75,000, approximately $75,000 in annual income, there was no further progress beyond that amount. The authors also found some interesting correlations that when it came to misfortunes such as divorce, ill health, or being alone, Having a lower income tended to exacerbate the emotional pain that came with these obstacles. And they also concluded that high income can impact life satisfaction, but not daily happiness, and that low income would be associated with both a low life evaluation and low emotional well-being. So going back to answering Lisa's question, what is the relationship between financial well-being and emotional well-being or overall well-being? I would say that this is a rather complicated question. It would take summarizing many research studies in order to truly answer, because we can also explore what is financial well-being. And research shows that income level and financial well-being are not the same thing. We also know that our overall well-being can be marked by lots of different things. Today, I just spoke to you about emotional well-being and life satisfaction as they related to a sense of subjective well-being. However, research also talks about the importance of social well-being and different forms of well-being that can all fall under that same umbrella. So the conclusion here, though, that I hope you'll take away is that we know that income level can impact life satisfaction and it can impact our mood. However, this is an effect that tends to level off once a person's basic needs are met. So while the actual number, $75,000, will have varying impacts on people's well-being depending on the culture that you are raised in, depending on lots of other factors. However, we can say that there is a relationship between money and happiness, and it's worth exploring how people can continue to grow their wealth if it is one of their goals, but understand that in order to build the day-to-day emotional well-being that we also advocate for in positive psychology, we want to look at different tools and different interventions and changes to our daily habits, how we're thinking, what we're feeling, what we're doing, as a way to create true, sustainable, daily positive emotions. Today's life hack will be addressing our listener Lisa's questions around the relationship between financial well-being and positive psychology. One question is, how can positive psychology help people achieve their financial goals? We can look at that through the lens of PERMA-V, and so PERMA-V refers to the 6 pathways that build well-being: positive emotions, engagement, flourishing relationships, meaning and purpose, sense of achievement, and vitality. And so I'll answer this question through the lens of the key topics that we train our positive psychology practitioners in when we give them a foundation to what are the pathways to help individuals, organizations, and communities thrive. So positivity can help people meet their financial goals because of the broaden and build theory of positive emotions. We know that people who frequently experience positive emotions tend to do better and perform better in everything from job interviews to how they perform in their work and the duties that they have. Research supports that people who frequently experience positive emotions compared to with people who frequently experience negative emotions sometimes actually earn more income than the average person who scores high on negative emotions. Positive emotions tend to put us in a more broadened space where we're more creative, where we're more resourceful, when we have more energy available to ourselves. So having strong positive emotions can help us in that dimension. Same thing with engagement. When we are more engaged, when we are more present, when we are more in the zone, when it comes to the things that we do, we will just naturally be more productive. Now, being more productive doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to meet your financial goals. However, it does tend to increase your odds when you do feel like you are more present with the things that you are doing. Relationships also may make an impact to our well-being. At the very least, we know that people who have high-quality connections often do feel like they have people that they can rely on. This can help people feel that they are safe, that they are trusting of the world. And interestingly enough, research does show that when people score high on things like trust, and particularly how high a nation scores on trust, that tends to correlate with GDP within a country. Because when you live in a country where people trust one another, when they trust their economy, when they trust their government, they're more likely to spend money. So believe it or not, there may be a relationship between even the quality of our relationships and how we feel financially. Meaning, the M within the PERMA-V model is another important factor for talking about everything from financial success to academic success, or any of the A achievements that we're talking about, because meaning and purpose are strongly tied to our sense of positive emotions, to our relationships. And when people tie meaning and purpose to a goal that they're trying to achieve or to the work that they do, they tend to perform this work with greater vigor, with greater joy and fulfillment, and they tend to persevere when they come across obstacles. So meaning can actually help people meet their financial goals, in that their financial goals are likely to be tied to things like their life purpose, or things that bring them meaning and purpose in life, which will make it a more sustainable goal. And same thing with achievement. So when we help people achieve their goals, accomplish more, it can correlate to either being at peace with their finances or setting goals to help them increase their financial well-being. And lastly, vitality. And I relate vitality to financial well-being just from the perspective that when we are not healthy, when we are struggling with our well-being, we know that our health can be extremely costly. And as the adage goes, an ounce of prevention can be worth a pound of cure. We know that when people's vitality is low and their health is struggling, this becomes incredibly, incredibly financially costly to people. And when their well-being is high, they have energy available to themselves to engage in the other elements of well-being, such as positivity, engagement, relationships, meaning, and achievement. So while all of these variables of the PERMA-V model are all intertwined, we can see that when we build those elements, we also can impact our financial well-being. And likewise, financial well-being can be a source of all of the others. So when our financial well-being is high, it can correlate with a greater sense of positivity or life satisfaction, as I mentioned in our life hack. It can be used to help us become more engaged with our life. When we have more resources available to us, we can do things like travel, where we often have experiences where we are more in the present moment. We tend to lose track of time. Time slows down when we're traveling to new places. We can invest in experiences with the people in our life. And research shows that one of the reasons why purchasing experiences can actually lead to higher levels of happiness and well-being than just purchasing material goods is that experiences often have a social factor associated to it. And that's one of the reasons that it actually creates a greater sense of happiness, is because of the relationships that we have. Financial well-being can also be used to fund our meaning and purpose, so enabling people to do things like donate or give back or invest in things that they believe in, that give them a sense of purpose in the world, that can help make them feel like they matter when they're able to have enough financial well-being or an abundance available to them that also helps them feel free to give back to others. And of course, achievement, when we have financial well-being, it can help us drive more goals, give us more ideas about things that we can do and we can create in the world. And financial well-being can often free us up to stress less, maybe take more downtime for ourselves, or do things that financially invest in our vitality preventatively, such as self-care, body work, and all sorts of other things that we know are important to our well-being. So thank you, Lisa, for your question and giving us an opportunity to open up the conversation around what is the relationship between financial well-being and the PERMA-V elements of human flourishing. I hope these ideas get you thinking about the role of money and financial well-being in your life and how you might use PERMA-V to impact your financial well-being or vice versa. And I'm so excited to introduce you guys to Carin Rockind. She is our positive psychology practitioner for today's podcast, and she is a purpose coach and speaker with a focus on the science of women's happiness. She's joining us from Philadelphia, Pennsylvania right now. And she is an incredible, incredible woman, incredibly dear friend and colleague of mine. And she is someone who walks her positive psychology talk. And I can't wait for you guys to hear more about her story and what she's up to in the world. And a little known fact about Karin that you may not know about her is that she's terrified of heights. And because she's terrified of heights, she takes every opportunity she gets to actually work on that and desensitize her fears and terrify herself so that she could embrace those things that make her feel uncomfortable, such as jumping out of airplanes or biking across the Golden Gate Bridge. She is a woman who lives on purpose, on passion, and I'm so excited to have her with us on this podcast. Thank you so much, Karin.
Oh, thank you, Amelia. I'm delighted to be here.
Karin, I know that you have built an incredible, incredible community of women who gather to focus on their happiness and focus on their well-being. And you have a background in positive psychology. And I'm curious, what brought you to this point in time where you are organizing people around such powerful principles around the world?
You know, I create the sisterhoods that I always wanted. Right. From the time I was a little girl, I always craved being with other girls, other women. And I had that 5th grade experience where my best friends turned on me and then spent like middle school and high school just craving belonging with women. And something inside of me always knew that women needed other women or girls need other girls, and we need to encourage each other and support each other. But I didn't necessarily know how to create that. And my journey, the short story of my journey is when I was young, I pursued the quote unquote perfect happy life. I got married at 22 to a tall, dark, handsome lawyer. I was in a big 2,500 square foot house by the time I was 24. We had a golden retriever and life looked perfect, but I was really unhappy. I cried all the time and my husband would say to me, like, what's wrong with you? We're happy. And we had everything that we had wanted, but something was missing. And so I ended up getting divorced at 26 to begin my journey of what actually is happiness. And if the things that Cosmopolitan magazine or, the TV shows or our parents tell us will make us happy weren't making me happy, then what would? And I started volunteering with young girls and encouraging and empowering them to really live their strengths and to create community and sisterhood among them. And that was just volunteering. And I loved it. And I thought, this is like, my blood was juiced. I was on a high. I loved it. And I thought, this is what I want to do for the rest of my life. But I couldn't figure out how to live my purpose. I was so clear that this is what I was put here for. It's like people would say, you want to be Oprah. Like, yeah, but how do you become Oprah, right? Like, there was no podcasting or YouTube at the time. And so the long story short is I became severely depressed because I couldn't figure it out. I couldn't make my dream come true. I wasn't living my purpose. I was too afraid. I was staying in corporate. I was staying with the safety of health insurance. And then one day I was living in Cleveland, Ohio, and was walking into my condo building and someone robbed me at gunpoint. And when he pulled a gun and pointed it at my stomach and then my head as I'm screaming for my life, I had a moment of clarity that if I lived, I would pursue this purpose and I would empower women and I would encourage them to live their strengths and to feel beautiful and alive. And when I made that promise to myself, just at that moment, the man took my purse and he ran. And so I just decided from that moment, I am going to live my purpose and I am going to empower every woman, really every person. You know me, it's not just women, but I have a special kind of bent toward women to live their purpose and be happier. And that's what led me to leave my 6-figure vice president job in Cleveland and go back to school to get my master's in positive psychology and start doing this work. And now I'm super blessed. I didn't even intend to, really start off building sisterhoods. I was coaching women and speaking to women's groups. And then as I turned 40, all these women that I knew from when we were kids started contacting me about the midlife, right? Life didn't look like they thought it would. They thought life would be different. They had everything, but were unhappy. And so I created my first sisterhood of women who were in their 40s, and these women flourished. They flourished because they had other women who saw them, who supported them, who they could cry to and be honest with, not like Facebook and Instagram, but like really be honest with. And then women who held them to their highest self, who saw their strengths, who saw their purpose, who encouraged them to write books or start painting or start doing tango or whatever it was that was in their heart. And I've been creating sisterhoods ever since because I'm convinced that and we know from the research that women who have close girlfriends live longer and are happier and healthier. So it's really important.
That's such a beautiful and inspiring story. And thank you so much for sharing it with us and sharing the work that you do. I know that I wouldn't be the woman I am today if I didn't have the people in my life that support me and champion what I do in the world. And we are facing so much disconnection in a world where people have so many opportunities to connect in so many ways that we can connect. It's crazy how much disconnection we have in the world. And I know that you also have a background in studying women's happiness. And I know that more and more we're finding out that well-being amongst women can actually look a bit different than well-being amongst men. And I'm curious what you've been uncovering in your findings.
Yeah, thank you for asking that. So it's been well documented that twice as many women are depressed as men. And a research study from the University of Pennsylvania a few years ago found that women are less happy than women were 30 years ago. So we have more opportunity, we have more advantage, but we also have more misery. And you add on top of that research studies have shown that women are less confident in nearly every field, including nursing, medicine, finance. And about 90% of women dislike their bodies in some way. I mean, we're literally hating ourselves. And so what is required for women's well-being? And I want to add one more thing, that even though there have been major advances, bravo to the partners out there, where there's more equal share of taking care of the household and children, research is showing that women are still doing the bulk of household care and child care. So we're trying to be out there and run businesses or get promoted or go ahead. We're trying to, be on the PTA, help out at our kids' schools. We're trying to, bake healthy meals that we know are gluten-free. And, it's like, so some of what's happening for women, what the research is showing, some of the reasons why we are more depressed and what we need to do about it. One of the things is that there's so much pressure to be perfect. And our social media kind of is not helping right now. This is why we need girlfriends, groups of friends where we can be honest and share, these are my real struggles, not from a complaining perspective. We know that that's not going to help in terms of well-being, but from here's my real struggle and I need support. Number two is women actually do need to be able to receive help. So we are really good at giving, right? A beautiful thing about biologically, kind of most women is we're really good at giving, and women need to learn how to receive as well. So that's a key aspect. Research also shows that because women are the major caretakers, one of the reasons why women, particularly as we get into our 40s, are more depressed is that we're taking care of younger people and elderly. And so we become isolated and lonely. And what goes is both time for ourselves and a focus on our own well-being, as well as time with friends, with close friends. And this is why building a sisterhood, I think, is so critical, and having we know close relationships are beneficial. We know that loneliness is becoming more. Also, women's bodies are different. And women are designed to move. I mean, women have curves for many reasons, right? We have curves in order to be able to have a child. We also have curves because our bodies were meant to dance. If we look at texts from thousands of years ago, women were always dancing. And we live in a very linear world where we're not encouraged to be in our bodies. Rather, we're encouraged to look at our bodies and say what's wrong with our belly or our wrinkles or our butt. And so instead, we want to stop being so cruel to our body and get into our body and start moving them. We also need a healthy way to work with our emotions. A beautiful thing about women is we are more nurturing and compassionate. We are more emotional. And often society tells us, you're too emotional, you're too sensitive. Well, what we actually just need is to understand that our emotions are beautiful and have healthy outlets for them. Another thing women do, women ruminate more than men. So we ruminate, we spend more time kind of going over all the negative events more than men do. And from an evolutionary perspective, that was helpful to be able to take care of our families and the community and the tribe. But it's not so helpful when we're just repeating things that we wish we had done differently in the meeting or at work, or things that we need to do this coming weekend for our loved ones. So we actually need to learn some mindset tools in order to be able to compartmentalize and rework our negative rumination into positive rumination. So there are a number of different factors that we can actually take control of our well-being and be it from a perspective of women's well-being. and really thrive.
And that's such an incredible way of putting the perspective on why we do the things that we do. It's like, yeah, from an evolutionary perspective, we used to need to do these things because they enabled us to have the type of communities that we wanted. And now it's like all of that just turns inward on us and tears us apart, as opposed to what some of those things had evolved us for. And I know that you created an incredible opportunity for people to gather around these ideas and to learn more about this work and to have these type of conversations and to have the space and the container for it. It's happening on October 18th. It's Global Women's Happiness Day. And can you tell us more about what made you want to create this gathering? What's going to be happening at this gathering? How can people get involved?
Yeah, thank you for asking, Amelia. So people ask me all the time, and I'm sure that they ask you, are you happy all the time? Right? And of course, just because we work in this world, doing this work doesn't mean that we are. And of course, the answer is no, right? I teach that which I have to learn. And a year ago, I had a second miscarriage, as you know. And it led to the darkest days of my life. I've had a lot of different things happen in my life, but having a miscarriage at 43, when I was sure that this was my chance to be a mother, just led me into complete darkness, the kind of darkness where I said to my husband on many occasions, I just don't want to be alive anymore. And so I really had to put a lot of these principles into effect. Number one was my well-being. And I think I missed saying this in the last question, Amelia, that women have to learn that our well-being, and I like to think of it as literally a well, right? We can't serve from the empty well. Your well-being, your being of your well has to be full. Our well-being has to be the center of everything else. And so I really was taking care of myself to a whole new level and doing a lot of meditation and leaning into a lot of different friendships. And as I was meditating, and I just kept saying to the universe, show me what I am here to birth. I just kept seeing women who were like me, depressed in dark rooms around the world, but they didn't have any tools. We're so blessed to have these positive psychology tools. And then I had an image of women gathering. I literally saw a globe, almost like you would be looking at a plastic globe or something that sits on your desk. And I had an image of a globe with small groups of women gathering on one day around the world to declare that we are worthy of well-being, that we are going to claim our joy and happiness first, that we are worthy of self-love, and that we're going to do it as a global community of women. And I had this vision, and Women's Global Happiness Day was born. And I am thrilled to tell you that it's coming up on October 18th, and we have more than 50 events happening all over the world. So we have an event, thanks so much to the Certificate in Applied Positive Psychology, to the Flourishing Center community, to various positive psychology communities around the world. We have an event happening in New Zealand. We have an event happening in Nigeria. We have an event happening in Colombia, South America, in Dubai, and throughout the United States and Canada, and on 6 continents. And I'm so honored. And what these events are is they're a couple of hours. It's a woman saying that she wants to lead an event. It's really simple. And you just simply gather, 5 friends, 10 friends, 15 women that you know, or you could do it in your workplace, and invite them to an experience where we claim our well-being, where we learn the science of women's happiness, and where we bond together to declare our worthiness. And I am providing, once a woman signs up, and you sign up to be an event leader at womenshappy.com, womenshappy.com, WOMENS happy.com. And then I provide the email invitation to send out, the curriculum. I'm holding a training for all event leaders to make it super easy. And it's just to have a close connected experience with other women, and it's happening all over the globe. And it doesn't exactly have to be on October 18th. I'm telling people, if doing it on October 20th is better, great, do it on October 20th. It's more the concept and the idea that together we're going to take a step toward eradicating the women's depression epidemic and empowering women globally. You also don't have to hold an event. You can attend an event. So also if you go to womenshappy.com and you click on participate, you can fill out a form to attend an event. And if there is one near you, we will connect you with the local event holder. And if there's not one near you, then you at least can participate. I'm going to be doing an online event that day. So you at least will get registered for the online event and you can participate that way and you'll get the recording if you can't make it live. So I'm so grateful. Thank you for letting me talk about this. It's what we have a lot of work to do to empower women. You know, every being alive has come from woman. Every being alive has come from woman. And I think we would all want our mothers to feel really good. We all want our daughters to feel really good. We want our sisters to feel really good. We want our friends and wives to feel really good. And so it's time to come together and take a step toward that happening, beginning with ourselves.
Wow, I am just so fired up, and I cannot wait to run one in New York City at the Flourishing Center. And I can just feel the uniting of all of this love and all of this passion and what so many of us are yearning for. And I hope that the men listening to this will be inspired to, one, share this with women, and two, maybe think about what does Men's Happiness Day look like too? And what would it look like to create these type of spaces for people all over the world? And the key is that we evolved for thousands of years in small local communities. And we're lacking that. We're lacking the freedom to have these kind of conversations, to really see one another. And I celebrate, Karin, so much that you are honoring that little girl within you who is using her challenges and using them to propel courageously your vision in this world. And so thank you so much. Karin, tell us once more how people can get more information, both about Global Women's Happiness Day, but also the many things that you have put together and that you offer in the world.
Yeah, thank you so much, Amelia. And I'm so excited you're going to host an event. Yay, thank you. So you can find out more about Women's Global Happiness Day at either womenshappy.com or womensglobalhappinessday.com. Either one will get you there. And you can find out more about what I do at purposegirl.com. I lead women on retreats all over the world. In fact, right after this, I'm taking off for Greece. And I also hold different women's groups and speak at, amazing companies all over. So would love to connect with any of you out there. Would love to hear your story. And thank you, Amelia, for sharing this important message and important work. And I love what you said about men. One of my certificate in positive psychology students just yesterday was talking about how this is so needed for men, and he wants to create it. So go for it, men. We need you.
Thank you so much, Karin. And yes, everyone, check out these resources and use this inspiration to just propel what your vision is in this world. And we celebrate you all wholeheartedly. Thank you, Karin.
Thank you, Amelia.
Thanks for listening. I hope you've enjoyed this podcast. And like Lisa, I want to encourage you to tell us, what would you love to hear more about? Is there an area of positive psychology you would love to get some more information on in terms of the research? Is there an area of your life that you would like a little life hack for, something that you would like support on improving upon? Give us a shout out at info@theflourishingcenter.com. Also, be sure to check out our new and updated website that has information about our upcoming certification programs in positive psychology, as well as our new online courses on resilience. Thank you so much for listening, and I wish you a remaining flourishing day.